Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Going for Two Live Sunday morning start sit stream. Hey, I did it all without stumbling this time. Great.
Proud of you.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I'm Kyle Senra, joined by my co-hosts. We've got Jamie Perog. I said your name really bad. Jamie Perog. Sorry. I got the intro, the name, the episode title right. I couldn't get your name properly.
Who was the quarterback for the Packers last week? Malilis.
Yes, and the person referencing my Malik Willis mess up, which apparently sounds cool, is our other co-host, Topher Kurt. So welcome, guys. Welcome, everyone watching, whether it's on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. We're here to answer all your questions, so feel free to ask away. But I'm going to ask both my great co-hosts how they're doing. So, Jamie, how you doing?
Pretty good. Rough weekend. I got the kids bugging me, but I'm ready for some football today.
Rough weekend, but then also, cashing on a 17-leg parlay. So,
Yeah, I hit a 17-leg parlay. It was only a plus two. I think it was 236. Very safe. I just bet all the heavily favored college teams, and I hit it.
Well, we're getting the Malilis news right now. So before I ask you how you're doing, Topher, maybe this will also add with the answer here. But Ari Mayrov, he just tweeted out that Jordan Love is out today and Malik Willis will start for the second straight game. So Topher, how are you doing? How are you feeling about Malilis part 2 this week?
I think Malilis will. I think he'll be a fine play. I actually do have a start-sit question pertaining to him because I have Jordan Love on a lot of my teams because people don't believe in him the way that they should. So he fell, and I was like, absolutely. But do you start Malik Willis, or Will Levis this week?
You see, I'm pretty sure I've got Willis ranked higher than Levis, but I'll go double check my rankings. Probably should pull up the rankings to start. That'd be nice. But yeah, that's my take on him. I think last week, just because of the thought that Willis could run, I'm pretty sure I had him ranked as like QB 2021. This week he's QB 23 for me. Okay. Both instances higher than Will Levis. So he ended up finishing QB. Hey, I was pretty close. I think I ranked him 21. He was QB 20 last week. So I was
there you go.
With Malilis. So yeah, I think I'm ranking around that same spot, and Will Levis outside the top 25 as per usual.
Yeah, so for me, it's hard to rank Willis pretty high. So I actually put him at QB 30. The only people I have below him is Brissett and Skylar Thompson. Willis, I have more closer to like QB 25.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got Levis 27, so I've got a couple behind him. But so far, his two finishes this year are QB 27 and then QB 22. So just finished a couple spots behind Willis. Yeah. So yeah, what were you leaning towards? Was the Packers fandom and homedom like making you lean that direction?
I think a little bit because I'm not sold on Will Levis. And I think the Packers scheme is going to be better. They clearly showed that they're going to cater to Willis's strengths and keep it within his realm of possibilities. And Will Levis is giving us a circus show at least once a week. So, so I think Willis is a safer play, but Levis definitely can have some upside, but has more downside in my opinion.
All right. So there we go. Malik Willis. We're in favor of Malilis, and let's ride it through. I actually ended up cutting him in a league where I needed the extra roster spot. George Kittle out, so I'm the kind of guy I don't, especially if I'm drafting a tight end early, I don't roster backup tight ends. So it goes from Kittle's out. Well, I guess I have to drop somebody to go use my tight end bench, which is the free agents. I have access to all. So I had to end up cutting Willis in a super flex league for Zach Ertz, but I still am rostering Malik Willis and Scott Fishbowl. So,
okay.
I guess we're starting with QB questions this week. So Zach, trying to think. Last week, did we mess up again? We told him not to play Drake London, I think, and he ended up scoring.
Yeah.
So Pickens over London wasn't the right call last week. So sorry again, Zach. He's back for more punishment. Dak or Goff this week? As someone who rosters a lot of both, I'm very disappointed with both so far this year. Not great. It's tough. I've got both outside the QB1 range. They're both outside the top 12 for me. So I understand your question, Payne, Zach. Does anyone have a good bearing on this to start?
Yeah, Dak or Goff. I have them back to back. I put Dak one spot higher, which I probably should switch that just because I do like that Arizona Detroit game. I think it's going to be high scoring.
Cowboys Ravens will be high scoring too. I think those defenses look a little better.
Yeah, I just think Baltimore's defense is a lot better than Arizona. So
yeah, that's not a stretch to say that. I've got Goff 13, Prescott 15. So I don't know if that's kind of similar ranges to where you have them.
Yeah, I have them 15, 16, and I'm actually going to switch it right now. So I'm putting Goff one spot higher than Dak.
Dome game, right? I mean, eventually, he's sucked the last 2 dome games, though, so it doesn't really matter. Eventually, it'll work, right? So, Topher, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking Goff. I think this is a week where it's going to be a shootout. I think it kind of has to be. Hopefully we get some of the quarterback play we've had the past umpteen seasons, instead of what we've been having, where a lot of teams are not even passing for 200 yards a game. So I'm going Goff, but I mean, the Ravens, I want to say they either have the most or the second most points allowed, not points, passing yards allowed per week right now. So, Ravens defense, while it is very good, it is allowing a lot of passing yards. I'm going to double check on that because I was just looking at it for my article.
I think part of it is also their run defense is so good that teams really have no choice but to pass on them because they can't. They don't have successful defense.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. They are passing yards per game. Yeah, they've allowed the most at 257 passing yards per game. So they also have faced the Chiefs. So that's one thing. But then they also faced the Raiders and lost there.
With elite QB Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, exactly. Elite QB Gardner Minshew. So that is something to watch out for. Absolutely.
So I did see a player update. Michael Pittman, he is expected to play.
Yeah, I thought I saw that too. We'll get the official. That usually, officially, all the teams will drop probably around 11:45, maybe 12. So within the next 15 minutes for sure, we should have like all the official word on every player. But yeah, I think I saw that report too. That looks like Pittman's going to be in. So that's a lot of lineups I don't have to scramble with suddenly. But just looking at fantasy points allowed, I'm seeing on Yahoo anyway, the Cardinals have allowed the 6th most points to quarterbacks so far this season per game.
Yeah.
And then the Ravens I'm having trouble finding them, 18th. So it definitely seems like the matchup wise it favors Goff. So we're all saying Goff, Zach. So what could go wrong here? Like I'm benching. So here's one. I'm not necessarily a start sit question because I've already decided. I've kind of committed to the rankings this way. I'm benching Dak for Geno Smith and Joe Burrow in a Superflex.
Jack. I might do Dak over Geno.
Okay, so interesting because you had these guys kind of ranked where I did, but I've got Geno as QB11 this week. So I guess that's something where you clearly had him below that top 15 mark, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know where you have him ranked. Well, guess we'll find out.
Oh no, I do have Geno higher.
Oh,
he's been scoring better.
Yeah, I got him around. Let's see, what would that points be? Probably around 19 to 20 points. So in a QB10 range.
I think on the projection, it was all about pretty close to that, all three. But I mean, so far, Geno's been the better producer between him, Burrow, and Dak. Yeah. So I'm tired of not throwing him in the lineup. I'll put him in. So Daniel's asking us, saying good morning. Morning, Daniel. Full PPR, Sam Laporta, Rashid White, or Drake London? I mean, if you're asking this as a flex, I'm super curious who your tight end you're already playing is, because there aren't that many tight ends I have ranked ahead of Laporta, but a couple of them might be guys that are easily attainable.
Brendan
Actually,
Strange.
Laporta is my tight end 3 this week, so there's literally only 2 guys I have ahead of him. So
I think I don't know. Brendan Strange is coming onto the scene, and
I mean, if you okay,
he is Bowers. Yeah,
that's one of the 2. I've got Bowers and McBride ahead of Laporta. So I mean, has Laporta got enough targets to justify? And you said full PPR, no, and I didn't mention tight end premium. So in that instance, 8 targets through 2 weeks. It's not horrible.
It's also not great. What has he done with that? I don't have his sets.
Well, so he was tight end 8 in. Okay, actually, I'm looking half PPR. Changes to full PPR. Yeah, okay, no, he was tight end 8 in full PPR week 1, and then tight end 30 last week. 9 fantasy points, 3 fantasy points. He was 4 for 45 in week 1, 2 for 13 last week.
Yeah, I'm very as a Laporta lover, Iowa guy here. I'm concerned that Jameson Williams has taken over Laporta's role. I think that with the running backs there, I thought that Jameson would be the number 5 option, and I think it's coming down to Laporta is now losing that role because Jameson is being so explosive. So I would go London. I think he gives you your biggest upside this week.
See, I don't know, man. I don't like starting London this week. He's going to be seeing a lot of McDuffie.
Oh, that's true.
Here I was thinking it's a great matchup in terms of you expect that other team to score points. So
in my article I wrote about this, McDuffie seen 10 targets in the past 2 weeks. He only allowed 50% catch rate for 32 yards. So 2.5 targets or 2.5 catches for 15 yards. But I mean, he's not going to be on London the whole time. I believe the slot for the Chiefs allow like the 4th highest. So
yeah,
has he moved to the slot at all?
Sorry, yeah. So I don't like McLeod this week. I'm a Mooney guy this week because if McDuffie's going to be on London, they got to throw the ball to either Pitts or the other side. So
yeah,
Laporta, because they have to get him involved. He's not.
You're welcome, Zach. Sorry, it's a week late.
Yeah. I just posted an article this morning about wide receiver expert consensus rankings where I'm comparing rankings, and as I say, go with London. I take that back because I did say that Darnell Mooney has a chance to have some great upside. They're shutting down. The Chiefs defense is shutting down wide receiver ones on the teams that they've played. Zay Flowers and Jamar Chase were both held under 40 yards. But the tight end 1 on each team and the wide receiver 2 on both Ravens and Bengals have made an imprint against that defense. So I think that London could be shut down. I mean, I don't love any of these options. At the beginning of the season, you could have been like, week 1, who are these options? You're like, well, that's a lucky place to be in right now. You're like, it's not so much.
So I pulled up my league. I had a start sit. It's a dynasty league. I'm stacked. I have Laporta and Pitts, right? So I decided to play Pitts over Laporta. But then I was looking at my flex, and I have Laporta in my flex right now over Najee, over guys like Brian Thomas, Deontay Johnson, and Mooney on my bench.
So here's the thing.
And I think Mooney's going to outscore London.
You should, at the very least, switch Laporta and Pitts just because Pitts is playing tonight. So that way, like if you get to tonight and you suddenly want to throw in Mooney, you have that option.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Like I mentioned, I've Laporta tight end 3 this week, and Pitts is not one of those guys I have higher. So like I guess you have Pitts ranked higher than Laporta, Jamie?
Let me check. Let me pull up my spreadsheet.
Because I don't think Pitts has more targets than Laporta. No, he has 7 this year compared to 8 for Laporta. So it's not like he is more involved in his team's offense than Laporta is.
I have him pretty close.
Especially with Kelsey out, that's
7
one of
and
those top guys that's gone. So yeah, they're close for me too. But tight end 6 for me for Pitts. So here's the one. Sorry, Jamie.
Would you play Mooney over Pitts then?
You see, probably not. Like I get the idea of playing the 2 tight ends. I'm just saying, like, you want to save, and this is maybe something for everyone, not just for Jamie. You want to, like, if you have decisions like that, move your later game players to your flex spots, because that way, that's a decision you don't have to make right now. You can wait and see how this goes. Like, if you really think Mooney has more upside than Pitts, and you're so far behind, you just gotta literally shoot for the Mooney, so to speak. You could like throw him in.
Good one.
But if you play Pitts in your tight end spot and you use your flex spot early on Laporta, you wouldn't have that option. So I'd still think you probably want to just play both tight ends anyway, but you don't have to make all your decisions right now. If you save your flex players for later and you've got options on the bench, that you can let the day play out and then make the decision before lineups lock at 8 o'clock tonight. So again, that's something for in this. Thanks, Jamie, for like vocalizing it, because it's given us an example, right? If you have Pitts and Laporta, put Laporta in the tight end spot, Pitts in the flex spot, and then you have the flexibility Sunday night to decide if you want to keep him there or switch out for someone else.
So
and
Daniel,
that applies for Monday players.
So Daniel, to answer your question, we don't know.
Well, the one thing none of us have mentioned is Rachaad White.
Yeah,
it's a great matchup because it's the Broncos and they really suck at stopping the run defense.
Yeah,
but is Rachaad White good enough at running to make it worth it? He's clearly got good passing game involvement. That seems to be his best strength is as a pass catcher. So in theory, it's the worst type of game script for him because we expect the Buccaneers to just steamroll through the Broncos, right? Unless someone's got a hot take about the Broncos upset.
Nope.
Yeah, no one's putting their name on that. That's fair. But if there was a game for him to just be really efficient running finally, this might be the matchup. So, he was on the injury report earlier in the week. He was removed, so he is not even a questionable tag. He's going to play. It seems like, well, he might not be 100%. He's probably 90, 95%.
Yeah.
Is that enough? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
This is tough, Daniel. This is one of our toughest ones we've had, I think. We're all struggling here.
Absolutely.
My first thought was, oh man, what tight end do you have? You got to play Laporta, right? But okay, it's Bowers. That is the dude that's drawing targets over everyone. So
yeah,
when it comes to tight ends, so my instinct saying just play the 2 tight ends, kind of like Jamie's doing with Laporta pitch. Just go with Laporta Bowers. You want to approach that game environment. A little surprising because the Cardinals have traditionally been pretty weak against tight ends and they've allowed a lot of production. Looking on Yahoo right now, they've allowed the 22nd most fantasy points to tight ends. Oh, that's running backs. It was super low.
Yeah,
even lower, I think, at tight end. 25th most points at tight end. So that's like 8th fewest. So it's surprisingly they're not an easy tight end matchup. But then you also look who have they played. I mean, they shut him down. The Bills just did, and then it was the Rams last week with the disaster of an offense. So sample size is small, but I mean, the way they approached it seemed like the reason the Bills didn't give him targets was because they were making sure, okay, we're going to double him. He's the big threat. I don't think the Cardinals can necessarily do that. As you said earlier, Jameson Williams has now emerged and they really have to account for him. And of course, Amon-Ra is still there. So they probably defensively can't approach the Lions the same way they approach the Bills to just completely remove the tight end from the equation. So that might mean Laporta actually gets, because he's struggled of late, he might actually get easier coverages, and the Cardinals are so focused on the 2 wide receivers. So I guess I've kind of talked my way into saying, yeah, just go with the 2 tight ends. Without tight end premium, I don't love doing it, but if you've got 2 top 3 tight ends, I think that's worth it. So again, a long way to say I'll put my stamp on Laporta. The Packers fan even hating the Lions so much. So I don't know if all this rambling is allowed. You guys have any clarity to really pick an answer here?
I mean, I lean Laporta. I don't love any of the options, unfortunately, but I think Laporta probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Laporta.
So we do actually have an answer now.
Yeah. Okay. Sam Laporta. Well, it's funny. We've all come around to, I think, every answer we've given this. Like all 3 of us have had the same answer. Even if some of them have taken longer. So Xavier Worthy on his potential usage with Pacheco out. That's interesting. I feel like they've got a plan for Worthy. So whatever their plan is, I don't think they're going to alter it because the running back's out.
I can see them getting a little bit more designed runs with the running backs out.
Sure, if they struggle to run the ball, maybe that's how they open up the run game.
Yeah, and then I mean, with the running back situation, I talked about this on Tuesday. I think they're going to have to throw the ball more. It's going to help the receivers, including Worthy. But I think Kelsey gets more involved now, and like he's going to be that elite tight end that everyone drafted him as.
Yeah, I think now they can't. I mean, they're 2-0, so it's not like they're panicking, like, oh, we're going to miss the playoffs suddenly. Everyone's how the Chiefs have struggled, but they've won both their games. So I do think Rice and Kelsey are going to be the main two targets.
Yeah, I think Worthy, has a chance to get a couple runs, though, like he had in week 1. I think that that's a viable possibility. I think that he's a good flex play this week. I think you throw him in there because he does have huge upside. Doesn't mean he's always going to capitalize on it, but he has huge upside.
I'm starting him in Scott Fishbowl, but part of it is I've just jammed him in the lineup every week, and it really worked week 1, not so much last week, but I'm sticking to it. So
yeah, so I actually have a Worthy start sit. That's deciding between Worthy. T. Higgins is playing, so I could choose between those. I don't know if Higgins is going to be on a snap count if he is playing. So safe would probably be Worthy, right?
Plus, against Scott Fishbowl, I'm benching T. Higgins this week. So
you're benching Higgins, okay?
Yeah, I got to see it before I can trust him. We've seen him like kind of come back and then not really come back, like you said, snap count. Heck, we've seen him injure himself in warmups and not even play a game when he's supposed to play. So like until I actually see him on the field finish a game without an injury, I'm not trusting him in my lineup. Scott Fishbowl is the only league I have him in, and the only reason I took him is I took him way past ADP. Like I think we talked about this last week with Jeff. He ends up with Higgins as a 3rd-round pick. I drafted Higgins in the 9th. So the only reason I took him is because he was there in the 9th. Like I was hemming and hawing, but the way the return points are going, like I'm playing Kevontae Turpin again over Higgins. The chance he gets like a return against the Ravens, that potential is so high that for these guys that don't return, like I'll roster them if they're so cheap. I've got Higgins and Lockett on the Scott Fishbowl team. But I took them because they were just so late past ADP. It felt like I might as well. There won't be many teams with this, but I don't love playing them because the format says go with the guys that have potential of returning. And to be part of it is that's part of it with Worthy for me because he hasn't yet. But is that a way that they help him get touches? Let's put him out there on a punt return or a kickoff return and use his speed. And if he doesn't Scott Fishbowl, massive points. So I want to just always throw him in there. So that's super skewed, Jamie, because I don't think you're talking about Scott Fishbowl in this instance.
Yeah, no, mine's a regular PPR.
I mean, do you trust Higgins will play, right? Like that's
I just
if
like
you do, he's probably the best option. The Bengals, I think, have the highest implied total this week. So like they're expecting them to put up a ton of points on Washington.
Yeah, I did put a bet that Jamar Chase gets a touchdown. I even threw a few bucks on a 2-touchdown game for him at like plus 850, just in case. Because that Washington defense, man, that's one of the worst in the league.
Oh yeah,
I love Benjamin Saint-Just, but he's good, but he's not great, and he's like very clearly, I think, their best defensive back. So like, the rest of the secondary is even worse.
Yeah.
So I hope that helped, Ryan, with your thoughts on Worthy, giving some examples here. I think I've got him ranked at I've got him at wide receiver 43 this week in half PPR. I'm guessing, Jamie, based on your reaction, that's probably too low.
What Worthy? Shoot, let me look. Are we doing half or full? Because I don't do half ranking. Because I don't play in any half PPR. I'm not even seeing him on my list. Oh, here he is, 57.
I will tell you that
on that 8 to 9 points range.
The experts, I used a different sites on my article every week, and the experts have Worthy at wide receiver 31. And the range, the highest ranking is wide receiver 26. The lowest range is wide receiver 39. So
I'm lower than the lowest.
Yeah, lower, man. Exactly.
I'm still saying play him, but again, I've got him in a league that it feels like I would rank it differently if I was ranking for Scott Fishbowl, because there's a lot of guys ahead of him that don't have returning potential that I would definitely play him over. So context does really matter with scoring studies with him. Yeah. So I hope that helps, Ryan. Now, Matthew, we've actually covered this question before, so this seems to be a popular call today. Jared
Hi,
Goff
buddy.
versus Dak Prescott.
This is my buddy Matt. Hi, man. Thanks
Yeah.
for dropping by.
So 4-point passing touchdown. I guess the last time we asked that wasn't specified. Now, to be fair, I do my rankings for 4-point passing touchdowns. So what we revealed earlier, Matthew, is all three of us prefer Goff. I know Jamie and I are both super close, Goff to Dak in rankings. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got Goff at QB 13, Dak at QB 50. So we totally understand why it's a dilemma because it is very close. But I think we prefer the game environment of going against Arizona as opposed to going against Baltimore. Even though both over-unders are pretty high, but the Lions-Cardinals over-under is the highest of them.
Yeah.
So anyone else want to mention anything? But
No, that kind of
here.
covers it. Absolutely.
So yeah, Jared Goff. He's got to do well in a dome eventually, right?
Yeah.
General thoughts on Waddle. It's funny. Waddle's actually someone I have ranked ahead of Worthy, and now I'm questioning maybe that. Hey, I do have a Worthy too low because I've lowered Waddle significantly. I think he's the guy that gets hurt more than say Tyreek. It feels like they're gonna emphasize getting Tyreek the ball. We've also seen Tyreek do well, not just with Mahomes and Tua, but with other quarterbacks too. He had some pretty good seasons with Alex Smith after all. Now Alex Smith's significantly better than Skylar Thompson, so that is a concern. But it just feels to me like Waddle was the guy I ranked a lot lower this week, and I kept Hill sort of in a similar range. I think I still have him as wide receiver 5 this week, which a lot lower than consensus. But I'll take a stand that Hill is just that good that he'll be fine, but Waddle really worries.
Who did you say Hill? You had him lower than consensus?
No, way higher than consensus.
Oh yeah, because
5.
consensus right now has him at 11 and Waddle at 28. But here's a question for you. They have Waddle at 28, Worthy at 31. Who'd you start? I'm going Worthy.
It's funny because I've got it ranked Waddle, half PPR. I've got Waddle ranked higher, but the one league I have Waddle, I'm not starting, and the one league I have Worthy, I am starting. But those are 2 different leagues, so it doesn't necessarily cross over.
Yeah.
Yeah, feels like maybe I have this ranking wrong. Maybe I am way too low on Worthy right now. Because I feel like he probably should be the answer. So maybe wide receiver 43 isn't the right spot to put him.
Yeah. So, I think
okay. Wide receiver 33 for Worthy. He's 1 spot ahead of Waddle. There you go. Play Worthy.
Okay. There you go.
Like now that I'm looking at my rankings, it feels like that's probably how I should approach it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm saying Waddle, if you have to play him in your flex, do it, but I'm not super high on him right now. Poor guy having to deal with, Skylar Thompson, unfortunately.
Jamie, with what you've ranked it, have you ranked Hill and Waddle both lower than you would typically?
I put Waddle way lower than Hill because I think Hill has to still be involved. Get the ball in his hands at like a 4-yard pass. He's going to do something with it as opposed to Waddle running like 15, 20 yards downfield. It's harder to get the balls in his hand with Skylar Thompson in that situation.
Well, here we go. The perfect transition from Mike to Dan. Thanks both co-hosts on Going for 2 live shows. So be sure to subscribe to the Going for 2 live YouTube channel and watch all the great content we have almost every day of the week. So Waddle question here. Wide receiver 3 spot, Jalen Waddle or Elijah Moore? Mentioning Elijah Moore punched 14 targets in 2 weeks, went 8 for 6 last week. Waddle's QB issues are there. PPR cheers. But I would also argue the QB issues are also there with Elijah Moore because Watson doesn't look great right now.
No.
I've got Elijah Moore at wide receiver 55. So I would stick with Waddle in this case.
Yeah, my study does not even have Elijah Moore in the top 60 consensus rankings between experts. So,
in theory, we should be ranking him higher than Amari Cooper because Cooper has not got targets this year. Judy and Moore are getting all the targets and Cooper isn't, but yet, I don't know. I have a hard time ranking both ahead of Cooper. I do have Jerry Jeudy ranked higher than Amari Cooper this week. Until Cooper shows something, I can't rank him higher than where he's going. I know every time I publish my rankings, Fantasy Pros yells at me, "You're too low on Cooper. You're like 20 spots lower than consensus." Yeah, well, people are 20 spots higher than they should be. I've got Cooper at 47 this week.
Elijah Moore has 53 yards on 9 receptions, and he has a long of 22. So that means he really has 8 receptions for 31 yards plus a longer game. I mean,
But
Waddle,
to be fair, that's still more than you take away the long game, that's more catches and receiving yards than Cooper has this year.
Correct.
Which is hilarious.
I am focusing on
2 for 16, 3 for 11. And 311 is a great band. That's not a good stat line.
No. But I am focusing on the question at hand with that. And I think getting essentially 31 yards plus a 22-yard bigger gain is not something crazy. It's something great. Waddle is 9 for 9 with 150 yards with a long of 63. So even if you took one of his longest play away, like I did with Elijah Moore, he still comes away with 8 receptions for 87 yards. And I know that's with Tua at the helm, but Waddle's just far more talented. I go Waddle.
I mean, this isn't even a question for me. Even though I have Waddle low, I'm not starting Elijah Moore, especially versus the Giants. Their slot, they only allowed like 6.5 fantasy points per game in the slot, as opposed to like 21 and a half to the outside. So that, to me, screams it's going to be a Amari Cooper game.
I mean, context does matter a little bit. Like, did Washington or Minnesota use a slot receiver much? It didn't seem like they were not even on the field, but when they weren't targeting them. I mean, it seemed like Jefferson played on the outside more, so why would you target your slot receiver if Jalen Naylor and Jefferson are scoring touchdowns for you? And then with Washington, in theory, the way Daniels is throwing low depth of targets, you figure the slot receiver would be useful, but it's to Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler, not actually a slot receiver. So
yeah,
who even is the slot receiver in Washington? Danny Brown, Jamison Crowder, Noah Brown now. Like,
I think it's Noah. I think Noah Brown had like 3 for 60 something last game.
It feels like the reason they've done everything is maybe to make him their wide receiver too. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Dan, we're all down on Waddle, but not this far down, because I think you're mentioning Moore's getting targets. That still probably won't be the issue for Waddle. Like I think we assume he's going to get volume. It's just quality of targets, right? As Topher mentioned, it's not like Elijah Moore's getting good quality either. So yeah, this is lower expectations on Waddle, but not lower than this far. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dan, for that combination question on thoughts on Waddle. That really helped. Hank saying, "Evening, gentlemen." So someone from Europe, Asia, Africa.
No. This is the commissioner of my main dynasty league, and his name's not
HHML. I was hoping someone knew that.
Yeah, Homegrown Hooligans Midwest League is what we're called. But his name isn't Hank; it's Mike. Hank is, I want to say, a character from the movie something I Love You.
I Love You, Man.
Yep, I Love You, Man. Yep. So from I Love You, Man.
Jason Segel's awesome.
Yes. Oh, amen.
Anyone who plays Rush in their garage is awesome. I've been hit hard by major injuries. Fantasy football, love it. You have decided to flex Darnell Mooney. How do we feel about his opportunities going forward this year? I mean, Cousins certainly looked better last week, so that gives some hope, because it seemed my whole take, and Gladys and I really focused this on last Monday night stream for the Monday night pregame show on Going for Two Live. Subscribe, rate, review. Thank you, appreciate that. But I was really concerned about Cousins. Like, if he rushed himself back so that Penix couldn't get in, and that it would be a while before he's back ready. It looked like he maybe just needed that one game to get out there, not get re-injured, and then to have confidence to go out and play better. So it seemed like Cousins was doing better, and I think I was listening to a podcast that mentioned it. He looked best at the final drive of the game. So he's kind of, now he's got that momentum. Okay, like, I ended on a win. You've got the good positive things going. You haven't re-injured yourself. You feel more and more confident using that leg. So as Cousins gets confidence, the quality of targets should increase for him. So maybe the Ray McLeod week was just a week one thing that they added by necessity, and as the season goes on, it's more towards London, Pitts, and Moon. So it probably is, I would say, going to get better as the season goes on, if I had to guess.
I'm going to say, I'm looking at the Falcons' upcoming schedule. They play the Chiefs today, then Saints, then Buccaneers, and then Panthers. So the next 3 games, Chiefs, Saints, Buccaneers, they're all going to be shootouts based off of what we've seen so far this season. It's going to be a lot of passing. And then you have the Panthers. The Panthers can't stop, a blade of grass, let alone anything else. And then you have Seahawks, Bucks, Cowboys, Saints right after that, where all of those could be high passing games. So you have over the next, 8 games of the season, 7 of 8 of these are going to be high octane games where the Falcons are going to have to pass the ball to meet up to the standard of the offense that they're playing. So I think Mooney has some great capabilities there. Yeah, so I think that he's flex worthy start right now. He's doing a lot better than a lot of receivers at this point. Yeah, I would go with Mooney as a solid flex play. He's right now, Mike, in our league, he's wide receiver 34 overall. So I think that he'll continue to give you up and down weeks like he has his entire.
He had more
career.
targets last week than McLeod, so
yeah,
I think we're kind of expecting that to continue. I suppose.
Yes, I agree.
Courtney joining us. Hey, Courtney. I believe she has a question upcoming. We'll get to that in a second. Worthy or Akers half PPR? Just bugging Topher. So only Topher can answer this. So he's not bugging us. So
no. He and I were texting about it this morning, right before the show, and then I just sent him a link to the show. I was like, ask me on here.
All right. So now that you've had all this time to think about it, do you have a solid answer for him?
I initially thought Worthy because of the Pacheco out, because he has that high volatility. But Akers has the backfield to himself. Ogunbowale is back there, but Dameon Pierce and Joe Mixon are both out. And I think that Akers, we've seen him be fantasy relevant before. We saw him get carries last week. I think that Akers is your safer player. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I totally agree. I think you'll get the opportunities. Ogunbowale's best trade is he's almost like Rachaad White pass catching. So it does feel like there's a chance Akers doesn't see any third downs. In a game against the offensive elite juggernaut superstar quarterback Sam Darnold, it might turn out to be a giant shootout. So you maybe really do want that pass. Like I am throwing Ogunbowale in a league where it's desperation time if we're throwing Ogunbowale in the lineups.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially in half PPR, I would feel pretty confident playing. It seems like he's going to have the touchdown upside. He's going to get most of the carries, I believe. It's just, does he get any receptions? Does he play on third downs? That's the question. But again, in half PPR, you really are just relying on the volume of carries and the chance of touchdowns. And Worthy's always got a good chance of a touchdown, but I think Akers, this would be the week to play him, I think, just for the volume. Jamie?
Oh, yeah, I agree. I'm going Akers. I got him slotted a little bit higher. He looked good when he came in. Did not look like he tore his Achilles at all.
No.
But he and Dobbins, they've come back and they've been super efficient. It's gone against everything we've ever thought about Achilles.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I'd go Akers here just for the volume.
Yep.
Daniel with a follow-up on his question, talking about, Laporta, White, London. It seems like he's already playing Gibbs and St. Brown. Do we want to play 3 Lions? And part of my thinking is because the game is so high scoring. Let me pull up all the over-unders. But again, checking through the week, I was pretty sure they were the highest. It was one of those over 50 games. Even the Eagles Saints is lower. Yeah, 51.5 is right now their over-under. So it's the game that's expected to be the biggest shootout, most scoring game, most points scored in the game. So it would, in theory, be the type of game environment you'd be fine playing 3 players from. Do you think it's too much, Topher?
I think it might be, especially he didn't say Dell before. And I know Dell has not produced the way that any of us thought that he would. But something that we have to consider that he has been on the field for 86% snaps Stephon Diggs has been 87%, Nico Collins 88%. Thank you, JJ Zacharyson, for letting me listen to your podcast 30 minutes before the show started so I could whip that out. Stephon Diggs has 12 targets this year. Tank Dell has 11, but Stephon Diggs has 10 receptions. Tank Dell has 4, and we know that Tank Dell can do much better than that. I think that Tank Dell has an opportunity to he catches a couple balls in the right way. He's he and Diggs are getting pretty much the same opportunity. Diggs is just making a little more of it right now, but we know that Dell can. So out of all those, I kind of lean Dell. I changed my mind, especially with if you didn't already have 2 Lions players and we were still in super pass heavy stuff like we were last year. Passing numbers are so far down this year. I don't want to bet 3 players on one team anywhere. That's my thought.
I don't mind playing 3 players on the same team if it's someone like the Lions or Chiefs or something like that. But if it was like the Browns, hell no.
You barely want to play one player off that team. So.
Right.
But yeah, he did not mention Dell in this, and I would 100% start Dell over Laporta. So I'm changing it. Go ahead and start Dell.
This doesn't really change for me because I have London ranked ahead of Dell. So I would still lean towards London if you were going to go away from Laporta. I don't know. 51.5 points. Eventually the Lions are going to come alive, right? I mean, I guess as Packers fans, Topher and I are hoping they don't. They're pathetic and losers, and like they've always been for their entire franchise, and end up missing the playoffs, disappointing their fans, reminding them what disappointments of expectations are, because they've been disappointing their fans for decades, but no one's also expected anything. So they know we've had the Red Wings to be dominant with the dynasty 26 years. Like they had their fill, so like the Lions could be really bad in that time. Now it's kind of put up.
I got to tell you, as a Packers fan, I've actually semi-rooted for the Lions because there's never been any competition there. It's just been, I've been on this planet since 92, and even as a Packers fan, you had to root for Calvin Johnson. Just Megatron was so much fun to watch. Matthew Stafford has always been a class act. I like him, even though he's not there anymore. The resurgence for Jared Goff is really fun to watch. Amon-Ra showing his vengeance from being a 4th-round pick. It's fun to watch. They're a fun team. Do I want them to be as good as they are? God, no. But, it's fun to watch because we really haven't had to have this hatred towards them because we've always been better than them. It hasn't been a competition. So as a Packers fan, I am not as against the Lions as I probably should be.
I mean, I remember on the Full Press Packers pod, we talked about everyone's most hated division rivals. We had a bunch of different guests on, and Vikings seem to be the more popular one. And I wonder if that's because of more recent years, we've seen the Vikings do better, win divisions more. And okay, that's usually the one we're in tight division races against. So,
it will always be Bears. Hands down, it should always be the Bears.
Fair, but I mean, to be fair, they've almost got they're so pathetic that the little brother.
Right.
It's sort of hard to almost feel bad for them, but then they make all these horrible decisions. You're like, no, you deserve your fate because you're so bad at managing your team. Hiring coaches and getting rid of your franchise quarterbacks to replace them with some dude who's really struggling right now and looking much worse than Justin Fields.
Yeah.
My Justin Fields love is showing, isn't it? So Courtney, again, member of the Going for Two Live team. Great to always have Courtney in the chats with us and occasionally podcast with her. How did you decide between Carson Steele and Cam Akers in the flex with Mixon, Walker, and Puka out? Yes, very scary. I mean, it almost feels like it's the same situation. It's the guys you rely on early downs, but I expect Samaje Perine is going to be the guy the Chiefs go to on a lot of 3rd downs, just like Agumbawale for the Texans. But I think Perine has more rushing usage potential as well, and early down usage as well as the 3rd down. So my first thought is to go with Akers because I expect more volume there. I don't know how they're going to handle Carson Steele yet. So that's kind of my fear.
Yeah, I'm going I'm going Akers here. I think that we know more of what's going to happen with that backfield, especially with two of their backs out. We don't know how it's going to split between P. Ryan and Steele. We don't know. Steele's got some hype, but is that anything, that we can follow up on? Caleb Williams has a lot of hype. Is that anything we're going to, there's hype out there, but, we have a more sure thing in Akers. That's my call. More sure thing in Akers.
Yeah, I'm also going Akers. I think he's going to get more opportunities, more volume. Seems pretty easy.
Outside of Daniel's question, we've kind of been unanimous on this. It's been easy for people.
Yeah.
And of course, we were unanimous on Waddle over Moore, which means that Elijah Moore legacy game. And he can come and repoint it out next week too. When
I really hope that if we are wrong again this week, Zach, anytime you ask us a question, you need to put money against us. So whatever we tell you, because
he needs to bet on Dak Prescott this week.
So then we would be 3 for 3 on missing your questions. So you just need
to play the lineup, play Goff in the lineup, and then go and make a bet on Dak Prescott for his over on his yards or something somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, there you go. There's the process. Jamie and Topher combined for all the great betting advice here. Mike, one of Jamie's co-hosts on the Fantasy Cheat Sheet on Tuesday nights, properly. Very deep league, Gesicki or Fant. I mean, I've got Mike Gesicki as tight end 10 this week.
I have him at 11. Yeah.
So, I don't think, because sometimes you ask a question, it's so embarrassing to ask this. Okay, it's a deep league. That's the justification of it. I don't think Gesicki's that bad to play, even in a shallow league.
No. And Fant only has three receptions for 25 yards this year.
I've always been way too high on Fant. I'm still ranking him too high this week, but I'm still, even with me ranking him too high, he's still lower than Gesicki.
I loved Fant coming out of college. Iowa tight end, obviously.
Right, of course.
A little favoritism there, but
Jamie and I, Mr. Athletic Profile, he had a great combine score, RAS score. So
he should be better than what he is, but he's also not going to be he's the fourth option on that team at best because of the trio of wide receivers there. So Gesicki easy.
Yeah, I know.
Back to the Elijah Moore legacy game. The only reason Dan was the Giants are so trash. Are they the worst ever 0-2 team? Because I know there was a while, Dan's rant from a couple of years ago was that when the Giants were winning, oh my God, they're the worst 5-1 team in history. They're the worst. It was just hammering over the head as a response to everyone.
Yeah.
It was kind of hilarious.
I mean, I think the Panthers are the worst 0-2 team. There's not even.
Yeah, no, that's.
It's not even close. It's.
Yeah, Giants aren't even the worst 0-2 team this year. So yeah.
Right.
A blade of grass. Is that what the decision, the thin line between Carson Steele and Cam Akers is? Maybe.
There you go.
That thin blade of grass is called Samaje Perine.
Yeah. My buddy Dylan did want to ask a weird question of where do babies come from, mommy or daddy? Dylan, I'm going to tell you to go ask your own mommy and daddy that question because this is fantasy football, not education.
Different type of fantasy.
Yeah. Well, a reality, actually. A little more reality than fantasy there.
Does it happen in real life? Yeah. It's sort of a thing that, all species need two partners to procreate. That's not just a human thing. So it's kind of biologically there, which is why through society, in history, partnerships of two romantic partners have been the norm and considered. Anything else is considered divergent and weird, but it's really just for that one reason. So everyone can do the rest with whatever they want the rest of the way. I really don't. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. I just care about my fantasy teams. That's all I care about.
Right.
Jamie, did I interrupt you? Were you going to say something about the Elijah Moore Giants?
No, I think it was the Gesicki Fant. I know I have a team where I was deciding that too, and it was pretty easy for the Gesicki side. But to answer that one question that was just where do babies come from? I don't know where everyone else's babies come from, but I know mine. Mine come from my balls.
I knew Jamie would want to chime in there, and actually give a pretty tame answer for Jamie, considering. But Desperate times require desperate measures. Are you starting Gabe Davis, Ray McLeod, Adam Thielen over T. Higgins? You see, I've definitely got a league where I'm starting both Gabe Davis and Ray McLeod. So I feel you, Mike. And I'm starting Christian Watson. And now that it's announced that it's not Love playing, I really don't want to. So like that's even more reason to play Davis and McLeod. But man, to play all three over T. Higgins, like I hate T. Higgins about as much as anyone. I would say play McLeod and Thielen, and then Monday night you can decide between Gabe Davis and T. Higgins. And then you can you get a real sense like how Higgins is feeling. Like, okay, is he limited in warmups? Is he going to be active but not play? Although he's like the worst for that because we'll never know. At any point he could just injure himself standing on the sideline doing nothing. Like with Higgins, it's super tough to ever, like I said, really ever trust him. So I would feel more confident if you weren't going into Monday night having to play both Davis and Higgins. So I'd say go Thielen, go McLeod, and then decide between Davis and Higgins. Oh, need two. Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I would say let me double check this.
I mean, Andy Dalton coming back makes me more confident in Thielen than it would.
Yeah. I'd say go Thielen, and then wait until tomorrow night for either Davis or Higgins. I'll tell you that Davis right now has received the most targets out of any Jaguars receiving option. He's gotten 10. Brian Thomas has gotten 8. Kirk and Etienne have both gotten 7. So he does lead the team in targets right now, and he has 105 yards. So 6 receptions for 105 yards. He does have that big boomer bust ability. Christian Kirk has 2 receptions for 29 yards, and one of his receptions, his season long is 30 yards. So his other reception, he lost a yard on. So I don't even consider.
True. Yeah, week 1 he had 1 catch for -1 yard. I remember.
Yeah. So
I jammed him in so many lineups. That was so disappointing.
Yeah. So I would not trust Christian Kirk as far as I could throw him, which would probably be -1 yard. So
could you throw him further than Lawrence can throw the football? Apparently not.
Exactly. So Davis is a viable number 2 there. You just have to go, who are you going to trust more, Davis or Higgins? And I think you can give yourself a little more time to trust your gut and come up with that.
Research it more, see how the week's gone. You'll have most of the lineup set, so you can kind of know what you need left. So decide between Thielen and McLeod today. Decide between Higgins and Davis tomorrow. Jamie, do you have any insight on this question?
Yeah, I'm not trusting McLeod. I don't like the matchup in that slot today.
My instinct was also he was like the first one you should bench, play Thielen, and then decide Monday. So
I kind of like Thielen. I mean, between him and Dalton, they have like 60 years of NFL experience. So I mean, you can't trust Gabe Davis, man. I'm not even starting Brian Thomas Jr. in a lot of leagues, and I would start him way over Gabe.
I've got.
I think I'm even starting Higgins in a league over BTJ. So it's just that matchup for Higgins, man.
It's Washington.
I just hope he plays a lot of snaps. Like if he could play over like 60, 70%, I think you'd be happy with Higgins.
So the key thing, again, Mike, is just don't play both guys today. Don't play both Thielen and McLeod. Choose one, and then you have that flexibility for Higgins tomorrow night. But I think we're all saying Higgins and Thielen is probably the best way to go about it. All right, Zach, this is the one we're going to get wrong. Dunze, Akers, and Judy. And just like last week, we're going to say it's definitely not a Dunze, which means expect the Dunze breakout to come this week. This is actually the question.
I was actually going to say a Dunze.
Oh, never mind.
Actually, because...
You're saving us.
Yeah, I am. So if you check out my article, if you go to my page, my Twitter page, it's right up there. I did talk about how Adunze has upside. Allen is out for second straight game. Adunze suffered an MCL sprain against Tennessee in week 1 and only had about a 70% snap share. Last week it was 94%. The Colts couldn't stop Collins and Diggs from Houston from each catching 6 balls, and then let Malik Willis complete 12 of 14 passes last week. If this were a week, if there were a week for him to break out, if him and his fellow rookie had a week to break out, this would be it.
No DeForest Buckner, so that Colts defense is weaker. But as we've seen through 2 weeks, teams can just run on them. So that's my fear, is that the Bears actually don't need to pass. Like, they just want to give Caleb they give Caleb the Malilis treatment. Okay, you're only throwing screen passes, you're just throwing beyond the line of scrimmage. Let's make it easy for you, give you confidence finally. Maybe he finally gets his first touchdown too.
I also think he's a top 10 draft pick. Look at what the other first round wide receivers has been doing. Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors.
I mean, Xavier Legette hasn't done much. He's got
Xavier Legette did
to...
first game he did. First game he did last week, not so much.
He's also had a worse quarterback throwing to him, right? In theory, I think Bryce Young is worse than Caleb Williams. I don't know. Maybe not.
No,
really shown to be much better.
You mean Xavier Legette? Because you said Xavier Worthy.
Oh, yeah, I definitely meant
yeah. So Legette is
the first name, right?
Yeah, Legette is a whole different story, and I think everybody knows that. But Odunze is clearly bonkers talented. So I think you risk it, you know? I think he's going to get the snap share. He's going to get opportunities. Plus, if they're going to run the ball a lot, that means they're not going to be super heavy on the pass game. But that also means that it's going to create more opportunities if they use play action for Odunze to use his frame, get that ball, and just truck people over.
I'm not gonna lie. I've got Jerry Jeudy so much higher than Rome Odunze this week. I've got Jeudy at wide receiver 31, Odunze at wide receiver 56.
Oh wow!
I think you kind of have to go Jeudy. He has been the number one receiver in that offense.
Actually, to be fair, in half PPR 56, me ranking Odunze there would be his highest finish of the year. He went 1 for 11, 2 for 33. So now I guess he's going 3 for 99 would not be bad. It'd be a wild game. 3 for 99, that still just gets you 11 points, 12 points. Okay. I don't know. Jamie, how are the Cleveland Browns doing? They're targeting Jerry Jeudy a lot. He is, like, right now, he is their number one wide receiver. Like, I think people need to accept that it's him and not Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm ranking it until I see something otherwise. So I also think DJ Moore's still there. Odunze, as good as we can think of a breakout, he's not going to be the team's number one receiver. Whereas right now, that's how I view Jerry Jeudy, and that's how I rank him accordingly. So that's where I'd. You see, I think I would just go with the running back though. If we expect Akers to get all the volume, even in full PPR, I think I still want that running back. So I would actually just play Cam Akers again.
Yeah, I think either Odunze or Akers would be the best option. In my
Amy, do you
opinion.
have a preference between the running back or the receivers?
Yeah, I'd probably go Jeudy just because of that.
You'll have a different answer. Now, nothing can go wrong with this, Zach, because somewhere one of us said the answer. So you just have to figure out who's right.
So, Zach, you need to write down who said what. So the next week, when we come back and two of us are inevitably really wrong, you can just say, I'm only going to trust this one person from now on.
They all get 10 points, and it doesn't matter. That'd be even worse. So Jamie's going Jeudy. I've got Akers, which makes sense. I'm such a big Cam Akers fan. And then Topher going to Odunze.
Yeah.
That talent. So that I don't know. I was going to say the Packers fan in you goes with the opposite team. So I don't know. I mean, that logic doesn't make sense. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
We'll try and check back with us next week, Zach. And see how we go. Courtney's saying how she loves Elijah Moore. Miss Boy. She wouldn't play him over Waddle either. So now that's 4 opinions that the D-League has. So
yeah,
which means that Elijah Moore is inevitably going to get a touchdown and outscore Jalen Waddle. All right, Roger Abelos. So Cam Akers and Dak Prescott. Those have been most of the questions have involved them.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins or Cam Akers. I mean, I've got J.K. as top 10 running back this week. I'm going to look exactly where I have him. Running back 9, even against the Steelers defense. But it also seems like it could be that game script where it's just going to be super run heavy. The chance of the Vikings, it could turn out to a shootout. And again, my one hesitation of Akers is he going to play third downs? Like if Jefferson pulls off another 97-yard touchdown and the Texans are trailing, does that limit Akers? Like I don't know. With the way Dobbins has been playing this year, I don't think you can bench him.
No, I agree. Steelers have, what is it? They have allowed the fourth least amount of, actually tied for third least amount of rushing yards per game this season at 76.5, tied with the Detroit Lions. Their first game they played the Atlanta Falcons and held the team to 22 carries and 89 yards. Bijan was 18 for 68 with a long of 13. But then the following week, they played the Denver Broncos, where Bo Nix led the team with 4 carries for 25 yards. And then Javonte Adams was 11 for 17. And we have not seen Javonte Adams be what we thought he would be for a long time now. So I think obviously 2-week sample size is small. I'm going J.K. Dobbins here. He's just explosive. I don't think you're going to get that same. You're going to get the same upside with Cam Akers that you have with J.K. Dobbins.
Jamie, how high do you have Dobbins ranked this week?
See, I had a conversation with someone this week about Dobbins. They said he's a must start. I disagree. He's not a must start, but he's a good start. So I have him at RB 17. It's going to be a fast-paced game this week. Both teams are in the top 3 in rushing attempts. So this game's going to be over quick. Like,
yeah, a lot of. Yeah. So and that's the one thing with the Steelers is they've played that ball control offense and the other team hasn't. So part of the reason that the teams have run so little is they've just had so little time of possession. It feels like the Chargers will contend with that and they'll try and keep it even. So
now, do we know is Herbert playing? Or is it going to be like?
Right, let's look at the full inactive
Herbert's
list.
playing.
Okay, so with Herbert playing, yeah, I have him a little bit lower. I was talking to my buddy Chase Vernon yesterday. He was like giving me all this information. If Easton Stick plays, Dobbins going to see more targets. So I would have had him a little bit higher.
See, I think the opposite. I think at least with Herbert out there, the threat of the passing means that they'll be more efficient. I think if Easton Stick's there, the offense could just be so awful that nothing happens. Like if Easton Stick was playing, I'd actually rank Dobbins lower than I have. So, me, it's actually a good sign that Herbert's playing. Yes, it's funny how Jamie and I were both. Well, at least Jamie's really intelligent. I pretend to be. But like, we could take that information of who's the quarterback and draw 2 different conclusions from it. That's just so much of the fun of fantasy and why these discussions are so great.
But in this situation with Dobbins, Akers, I'm 100% going Dobbins.
Seems like Rodgers was leaning that way too. The idea of Akers, Mixon being out, Akers could be enticing, but yeah, I think.
Speaking of Dobbins, I just got a live trade coming in.
Right, Courtney, wait a second, and we will get to your question, and then but after solve this trade offer.
Oh man, no, this is crazy. They want my Dobbins, giving me Deebo Samuel. Fantasy, a dynasty league, yes.
Oh,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, duh.
Smash. I say smash that. I mean, you just got to find a running back to play this week. But
no, Dobbins is on my bench. I got like 3 other running backs ahead of him.
Oh,
I got like Najee, Monty, ETN, or like someone else. I don't even know.
See, I feel like I have Dobbins ranked higher than all that. I don't think you should put him on the bench, but I also think you shouldn't be on your team right now because you should trade him for Deebo.
Yeah, no, I got like Bijan, Monty in my lineup. Like I'm sitting Najee. I'm sitting Dobbins. I got Roshan, of course. Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, you got
your boy Evan Hall.
Yeah, maybe don't play Evan Hall.
Well, no,
I mean, he'll probably. I mean, he's not going to outscore Roshan, but I don't think Roshan will outscore Evan Hall. Our guys, man, the dreams faded Jamie so hard. They're so talented. Let them carry the football. Yeah, go make that trade.
I already hit it.
Courtney has one. Half PPR, Aaron Jones or Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Ooh, I love JSN this week. Ooh.
I've raised him into I think he's in my top 20. No, just outside. Wide receiver 22. I have JSN.
Dude, I got Aaron Jones almost at 17 points this week, though. I think
he's my RB6. He's RB15 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in half PPR, that type of volume and touchdown chances Jones gets.
I'm going Jones here. I'm going Jones.
Another week without Jordan Addison as well could just mean more targets too. So
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Mike, dropping one more question for us. Should I pick up? I'm going to assume that's Miles Sanders, Jamal Williams, or Jamie's favorite Alexander Battison to play over Jaleel McLaughlin. Running backs are not good.
Ooh,
Sorry.
that's tough.
I think
I might actually go Battison, man.
because the Panthers, right? Because they're even worse to sin.
I'd go Madison or McLaughlin. I would not I wouldn't touch Miles Sanders or Jamal Williams in my opinion.
Definitely not Sanders. I think I'm fine playing Jamal Williams over Jaleel McLaughlin because they're both backup running backs, but like I feel like there's much more touchdown upside with Jamal Williams. Good game environment. Kamara can't get every touchdown ever. So but no, I think man, all of us going for Alexander Madison. I don't know what's stranger, Jamie, the fact that you said it or the fact that all three of us said it and you're okay with it. Like, this must be your worst nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to address this because that is false, dude. So if you had, let's say you had like Alvin Kamara in the top 5, if you had Jordan Mason in your top 10, Barkley. So if you had those guys, you're going to sit an RB17 for an RB5, RB6.
What? Who are we talking?
So I get his premise.
Aaron Jones, we talking?
No. This saying RB17 is a must start in a 2 RB league.
Well,
depends on who you're talking.
Yeah, it's
guys, you could have them.
But by definition, like if you're thinking about everyone has a top 12, everybody has an RB1 in the top 12, everyone has an RB2 in the top, 13 through 24. We were drafting
Dobbins and
he's talking about Dobbins, okay, where you had
Yeah. So I think so by definition, you're right on, that, but also you have to look at the build of your team because, you're not going to play your RB17 like Jamie was saying. If you don't,
could have some of my teams where your RB17 is your RB1.
Yeah, exactly.
Or great teams like Jamie builds where your RB17 is your RB5 on your team.
Exactly. It makes a big difference on team build. So by definition, yes, RB17 works, but not in every situation.
Context matters, right? That's why people ask us these questions, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for asking this question, Jackie. Pitts or likely in a full PPR season league, so I'm guessing that's redraft, 6 point per touchdown. Thank you for adding the scoring settings. Love that. Love the details. Kyle Pitts or Isaiah Likely? I mean, Jamie was saying play Kyle Pitts over Laporta, so I imagine Jamie's going to say Pitts.
I mean, they're close. I'm looking. I got them real close.
To be honest, all the good tight ends are close because there's so few good ones that they all have to be in like the top 7 or 8. So, I've got Likely at they're literally one spot apart. Kyle Pitts tight end 7, Likely tight end. Kyle Pitts 6, Likely 7. So
I think
it's basically a coin flip, but I've got Pitts ranked higher, so that's where I'd say.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Pitts. I have a situation where I have Likely or Freiermuth, and I think I'm gonna go Freiermuth in that situation, but I have
34.5 is the over/under for that game, man.
And I have Pitts above both of them, so I don't know.
Like I like building through the running backs in that game because I expect both teams will run so much. But how many pass attempts are actually going to be there for Fryer? Likely get the Cowboys, like that potential shootout environment. I don't know. I pretty easily go Likely.
Yeah, I just know
he's gotten more targets. The backup tight end, he's gotten more targets than Fryer this year.
I'll tell you this. Over the first 2 games of the season, the Chiefs have allowed 9 receptions for 111 yards and 1 touchdown to Isaiah Likely in week 1 and 7 receptions for 91 yards and 0 touchdowns, but almost another. I remember Gesicki either had a touchdown called back or almost had one.
Yeah. Dropped it in the end zone or something, or
it
looked
something
like a catch at first. They called it and then they reversed it. Yeah,
correct. So essentially, they're giving up 100 yards and a touchdown to the tight end over the first 2 weeks. I'm going Pitts.
Oh yeah, Pitts to Likely. Yeah, sorry, we I think okay, right, we didn't give you a chance there. Sorry. Okay, so
no, it's okay.
Jamie. Yeah, so I guess so we all said Pitts. So we all like Pitts, yep. Jackie, and then thinking that Parsons keeps Andrews into block. I mean, they tend to get their other tight ends to block and not. Yeah. But I also think even if Andrews gets targets, Likely could still be targets. So your reasoning isn't wrong, Jackie. But I also think you don't have to rely on Andrews just blocking for Likely to get targets. But that being said, we still like Pitts more. So
Yep.
Hope that helps. But I mean, unfortunately, you're kind of stuck to make this decision every week because like the targets are going to be there for both players. So you are like looking at matchups. What do we got? Yeah, and Topher just mentioned why it's a good matchup for Pitts. That there is potential there. Part of it is because we've seen Likely do so well against the Chiefs.
Yep.
And that would, in theory, be the argument why you'd go with Likely, but that argument also works too. Well, Pitts now has that team. Like we've seen Likely lead all tight ends and targets that week that he played the Chiefs. So
yeah.
And it feels like where they could shut down Andrews, they can't necessarily do that with Pitts. I mean, they could, and then just leaves Drake London and Darnell Mooney wide open. So maybe that's the way it goes. But I guess we're through the questions. Thank you, Roger, for asking, and thanks everyone who did ask questions. I appreciate it. I'm just going through the active inactives right now just to see.
I didn't know.
Surprise. Like Josh Palmer's out. That might be the biggest, like, where people might have been willing to play him, but Josh Palmer is inactive.
For you, I see Blake Watson is out.
Blake Watson hasn't played yet this year. He's been a healthy scratch every game this season. Thank you for reminding me every week, Jamie.
Yeah, you're welcome. People who don't know, Blake Watson was one of Kyle's favorite running backs coming into this year.
Yeah, which also speaks to how awful this year's class was.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Not wrong at all. So, okay.
But yeah, thank you, everyone who's joined us through the chat. Jackie, Mike, Roger, Courtney, Zach, of course. Zach will come to torment us next week about what we got wrong. No, we appreciate it, Zach. Keep checking in. We love having you here every week. It's awesome. Hank. Wait, what was Hank's real name again?
Mike.
Dylan. Daniel. Okay, there's only one Daniel. Oh no, there are two channels. That's right, because B-League was here too. Thanks everyone for joining us. Jamie, Topher, thank the two of you. It's awesome to spend Sunday mornings with you talking these decisions and great conversations. So anything you guys want to share before we leave?
Just check out the Tuesday night Going for Two cheat sheet with me, Mike, a couple other hosts. So check us out there. And then I also read an article on Fantasy Six Pack for wide receiver versus cornerback. So check that out.
Nice. I also I'm now writing on Fantasy Six Pack as well. The goal line guide. Right now I'm just doing it through the first 3-4 weeks of the season. It'll be more just review who have been the teams that are getting multiple touchdowns in games near the goal line, so inside the 5-yard line. But the full matchup goal line guide will start week 5. So look for those on Fantasy Six Pack. Of course, goingfor2.com, great source for rankings, articles. Going for Two Live, great source of live streams, podcasts. Goingfor2.com also gives you access to the Discord, free Going for Two.
Yes,
you can join. And I do have one last question here from Jackie before we leave. Just in time, Jackie. You're just about to hit the end stream. Higgins or Pollard in flex? This is the same league. Full PPR, 6 point per touchdown.
I would go Pollard. He's been getting most of the work. I thought it was going to be like a 50-50 split there, but no, Pollard showed that he is the guy.
I don't love the Packers' run defense. So, yeah, I love the Packers, but not their run defense.
I'm with you. Pollard. Yep.
And again, Higgins scares me. If you've got someone else on a Monday night, like we talked about other options, Gabe Davis, you feel more confident. I can slot him in, and if something happens, I can take him out. Having to decide between a running back playing now that, I think Tajay Spears is active. He's not inactive, but was questionable all through the week. Probably not going to get a ton of work. So I imagine even a heavier workload than normal for Pollard. Deciding between that on a Sunday morning versus a guy you've got to wait another more than 24 hours. You got to wait like 36 hours to play. And yes, he's slated to be active, but until that active and active report comes out, we don't know for sure. There's a lot of risk there. So
yeah,
I'm looking for any excuse not to play Higgins. And so you've given me a running back with a ton of volume. That's a good enough excuse for me. So, all right, well, we'll end there. Go Pack, go. So I hope Pollard doesn't do amazing, but I have a feeling he might. That's okay. It's all on Malilis to get us the win today, Toby.
Absolutely. Starting and ending with Malilis.
Perfect. Maybe we'll talk more Malilis next time on the Sunday morning stream here on Going for Two Live. On behalf of Topher and Jamie, I'm Kyle Senra. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or evening in other continents. Wherever